So we have been discussing on this with so many people, and there are so many things which is not clear. So anyone of the community has got the kata or processing working on that, where we can get some understanding on?
See, number one is you just you live in a flat or independent house?
Flat.
Has your the building got OC?
No.
Then you have to first fight for OC. Without OC, all khatas are fake. So you have to figure out
Builder is
get the
responsible.
builder,
Actually,
get the OC.
there are many houses here where the builder is not really giving all the documents required. There are so
File
many
an
things
RTI.
happening.
File an RTI that why OC is not given to your building.
Because he's not applied for it. He doesn't have
You
it.
file RTI. You file RTI to the BDA that why we are not getting OC.
No, shall I respond to this, please? I quite agree with you that we are supposed to get the occupancy certificate. Even in the last meeting when we had with the MLA, when the issue of kata was raised, he said the same thing. Have you got OC? Then I agree with you. We have to have certain things which should have been done in a systematic manner. Regrettably, it doesn't happen. What happens if you take the sanction to plan? What the builder, when he goes to BBNP or BDO, whosoever is sanctioning, and what is on the ground, there are a lot of variances. There are plenty of deviations. Now, for example, if you inspect any one of these buildings, it will not pass the fire safety norms at all. Fire brigade will not give you clearance. In order to get the OC, there are some 10 different agencies who have got to give clearance. Where are you going to get the clearances from?
Yeah, so the point is about a year back there was a thing called A khata, B khata. Now it is very clear that B khata is something called bogus khata. So people who are having B khata is actually not having any kind of khata. So the only way is A khata. In our Sun City, we had a very major complaint almost 3 years back, where we got 100 or 150 khatas without paying any blind. The reason we got it, number one, 4 or 5 people had filed an RTI, they had applied a khata and they got the acknowledgement for the buildings where we had OC. Now, in the Sun City, we have 20 buildings. They got ready in the phases. So, first 10 buildings, let's say, and last 10 buildings, there is a difference of 2 years in the completion. Now, first 10 buildings where we were trying, it was comparatively easy with paying bribe. 5 years back, paying bribe was like 3,000 to 4,000 rupees. Then
That was what kata was it? A kata or B
A
kata?
khata, there was no B khata at that point of time. Then maybe 2-3 years back it was introduced and then it was taken back or something. It was the same problem you said, lots of buildings didn't have OC and there was a pressure build that now OC is not there. Ankrama, Sakrama, all those things started and so like Ashwin said in one of the meetings that this whole initiative is illegal initiative. You have the illegal things, instead of making it legal, you are making illegal through all these channels, so that okay, now pay 5%, 10%. So that's a different story. But the whole point here is that now these guys waited for 2-3 months, did not get any response. They filed an RTI. They did not get response of RTI, but they got their khata.
It's the power of RTA.
Now, in association, we
Yeah, but it's not
have
entirely true. See, we have same problem, and we have filed RTA to 4 departments: WSSB, BDA, Fire and Safety, and from 2 of them, we got a response saying we have khata number to reply to this RTA. For example, from BDA, for BWSSB, we posted a mail like whether the builder has paid the BWSSB charges or not. Because getting a OC, that is also one of the important. As he said, there are 5 to 6 departments. And second, we tried that. RTI, it is, you are lucky that you got a response in a positive way. But we are plain unlucky. The response we got is give the khata number. I mean, whole fight is for that. And from where will be the khata
No,
number?
but we filed an RTI for the BWSSB to find out what is the builder that he has paid, towards what charges. We want to find out if he has paid for the Kaveri connection or not. And we got a proper reply.
Yeah, we got a response like
So can we share the RTA applications with them? Please, you have a
I have
what the way they have done it.
One more information that you want.
This is what this meeting is supposed to.
Some places where they don't have the OC. Exactly. So we can have working sessions.
Yes,
Yeah.
No, actually, Kata is a serious problem, there's no doubt.
Yes.
Obtaining Kata.
Yeah.
All the apartments in this vicinity, at least, they have identical problem. I don't know if anybody has got Kata here.
No.
Nobody has got.
Many have not got.
So, Akirti has got, I think, yeah.
I will come to that actually. And, it's of course, I think we want to discuss three primary issues.
Yeah, please.
Kata is also this there. I don't think we can even cover one issue completely today. And this is said to be a kick-up for all the things. As
If
Ashwin
you
was
list
saying.
all your issues, then we'll pick one and work on it today.
Yeah, so one of them we can discuss partially. I don't know whether we have enough time for that because another 10 minutes we have. So,
Can I
but
say
it doesn't
one
end here. I want to say it doesn't end here.
Let me say one other thing. We all want a legal and lawful system of government. Sometimes it so happens that we are ourselves part of the illegality. This is the reality.
100% correct.
This is the reality. Therefore, in any system, whether it's a political system or a social system or a personal system, even in your house, the hardest person to discipline is yourself. It's always easy to stand up and say, this man must be disciplined, that woman must be disciplined, she must be loyal, I must be lawful and all of that stuff. It's much harder to say, I must be lawful. Now the problem is complicated, I won't deny that. There's been encroachments, there's been taking over of other people's land, there's been construction of houses and flats on other people's land, there's been subsequent sale of those properties to unknowing and unwitting third parties. All kinds of golmaal has taken place. Sometimes we are in the situation where the property that we own is not actually a legal property. This is the reality. Let's be honest about this. Therefore, as a community, it is important for us to ask and answer the question, what should we do in the event of us being in that position? This is a question that most communities avoid. They'll say, now we are in this situation, let us just answer the question. Imagine something else. Imagine something that you care about. Let's say, some jewelry, some that is personal to you, or some old thing that you inherited, whatever, something that you care about is stolen by somebody. One person steals it from you, he sells it to somebody else. Now you ask yourself, what should be done once the police discover the stolen property? Now, as the person who has lost the jewelry, you might say, the jewelry must be returned to me, all the other stuff is up to the police to sort out. As the person who is holding the jewelry would say, look, I bought it thinking that it was perfectly legal kind of thing. You punish the guy who has stolen it and sold it as much as you want, but you can't take it away from me. These are very contrasting and contradictory positions to take. We must, as communities, first decide which is the position that we are going to take. If our position is that whenever we are the beneficiary of an illegality, the illegality must be overlooked and we must somehow be regularized, you can't actually stop the illegal. Let's be very, very honest about this thing. It's brutal, but it's true. That if we allow ourselves to become beneficiaries of illegalities, you can never actually change the system to fix these illegalities anywhere else. This is the simplest possible truth. So if you feel that somebody has blocked the road by building illegally across the road, and you want that illegal development to be removed, you have to come up with a system in which if your property is illegal, also that same logic applies to you. Otherwise it just becomes a power struggle. And people can see through the illogic of power struggles. Whenever we carry out power struggles in the name of law, they'll quickly figure out that this is just vested interest masquerading as public interest, and people will stop working with you. Fundamentally, therefore, it's important for each one of us to say, what is it that we bring to the table that is different from the conventional politics? If the thing that we bring to the table is just another power equation, you'll never be able to change the society. You'll never be able to get systems to this. That's why I said, fundamentally the system must believe that you do not have a vested interest. If the system does not believe that you do not have a vested interest, it will not work with you. And you can't blame anybody for not working with you, because they assume that your vested interest is out of a private motive, that it has no public interest. Therefore, it's extremely important for many of these buildings. This is what in my area we would call this a revenue layout. Right? I'm not talking about this building, but this is what I would call a revenue layout. There are revenue layouts in the middle of the road. What should be done about a revenue layout that is bang in the middle of the road? Right? If you were to ask that question in a very generic way, a bunch of people would say it should be removed. You ask the same question in the revenue layout and see what happens. Not even one person will say it should be removed. So this is the real tension in democracy, the tension between private benefit from illegality versus the public interest. And any system of administration must honestly address this. It's not easy. It's not easy, it's never going to be easy. But unless you honestly address this, you'll never actually get a solution that is lasting. Because everybody will believe that it's only a power trip. So there are provisions in the law. The Karnataka Town and Country Planning Act allows for areas to be redeveloped even if they are revenue layouts. So you must know how the law can be used to overcome some of these difficulties as well. But fundamentally we must make a commitment that the adherence to the law is more important than mere benefit from the law for yourself. If you don't make that commitment, it becomes much harder to actually go and ask for these things from the government.
But that's it. So we have so many other things. This is the platform where we start discussing on this one, and it is nice, as Mr. Ashwin was saying, for example, that people come to see each other, then they, like BWSSB and other engineers, coordination committee, similar thing is happening here. And some of us already have experience, and we are starting to share it, and it will go on carry forward. So that's a purpose circulated now, where you have to mention your name and email ID, whatever, phone number, contact details, and you be the part of the group of this problem solving thing, where we are going to share all these details. So lot more will happen there, and the meeting is going to swarm around different communities. Okay, it's going to keep on. It's not it doesn't stop here actually. So when it happens there also again we are going to get learnings. Every learning is going to be documented. That's a bigger plan. The BCT website is going to have all the learnings there. Now, 2 learnings so far we have already had. One thing is perseverance. So how much we perceived is not enough. We might have done 3 or 4 calls or 10 calls. I think that is not sufficient. One thing is for sure, it has worked for them. They have done that path. If they have not followed that path, they wouldn't have recommended this. So it has worked for them, it should work for us also. Perseverance is one part and we learned about it. Second thing we got is information, whom to approach to get your product, this one. So quite in this meeting, whatever we discuss, I felt garbage problem, if we take it up now, it will get easily solved actually. So of course I wanted to take it up other than garbage, water issue and road issue actually, 27th Main Road issue. So this is, it doesn't mean they are not going to take it up, they are going to be taken up. Yeah.
Do you have a resident welfare association?
Yes, we do. Yes. Because we also have a federation.
That things can be solved with resident welfare.
We are going to do that, and I am looking at this group mentoring the federations actually. We have got 2 federations in place.
No, the problem is most of it's an ex-federation, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what about the original federation?
Sectors.
So that we have to involve them.
That is one thing I want to get integrated. I have been doing efforts to do that. In fact, we called some set of people from our group. Archana is there, from Nagarjuna side. We don't have any contact with them other than Archana actually. So we have informed that they have not turned up actually.
HSR original federation belongs to all the BDA layout.
Yes. So I have contacted Brigadier Muthi also. He is not there in town, so it is not able to. So we don't know next level who can contact. I think it is up to all of us to educate people about that. And I in fact created one Google group for all HSR for sharing the information. Many of us are not aware about that actually. So we have to calculate the details and make it bigger community. And once we get bigger mass, I think getting the problem addressed is going to be a bigger, wider interest is there, and it is going to get solved. Network is going to build up.
So there's one other thing. There's one other thing, which is for certain problems, a portion of that problem can be solved by you yourself. This is the most important thing, because when you begin to solve a portion of the problem yourself, the rest of it actually becomes that much easier. Garbage is a superb example of this thing. Yes. The easiest way to solve the garbage problem is to generate less of it. If you generate less of it, or if you push it into a recycle and reuse process, 60-70% of what you perceive as the problem will just go away overnight. You'll actually get money for it. And this is not just, a vaporware talk, as I say. The reality is there are hundreds of communities in Bangalore, including here in HSR Layout, that are already recycling and reusing a lot of their garbage.
That's happening here already?
100%. If you go to Rainbow, I'm sure you'll be happy.
Garbage problem, I can give you the phone numbers whom to contact.
So essentially throughout the city, for every issue, there are people who have already cracked this issue. You want to form this network wider. But the more critical thing is to begin to break it into parts. First is what portion of the issue can I solve in my house? What portion of this issue can I solve in my neighborhood, in my community? And then what portion of this issue needs to be actually taken to BBMP or BWSSB to be solved? The majority of the problems can actually be solved in your own house and in your own neighborhood at a reasonable level, which makes the rest of the problem easier to solve. If we dump the whole problem on BBMP, that becomes the reason why they don't solve it also. If you dump only 30% of the problem on BBMP and 70% of the problem is solved by you, it's easy for BBMP to solve the remaining 30% of the problem. There are also reasonable businesses that have emerged around reuse and recycling now. You can just plug into those businesses. You don't really need to treat everything as a governance problem. Recycle and reuse is actually not a governance problem. Recycle and reuse is an economics problem. If you fix the economic problem properly, the ecological problem will take care of itself more or less. The second thing to remember, so first rule is do what you can yourself. The second thing is don't let the ideal become the enemy of the good. This is a classic problem in many communities. People will come and say, what is this half a solution worth? This half a solution is totally useless. Unless we get the full solution, we should not do it. Half a solution is incredibly better than zero solution. First you have to understand and internalize that thing. Why it's important, because if you go around any community, let's say you go around this apartment community and ask people, why don't you participate in a voluntary waste segregation program? Initially only 10% of the people will participate. This is the truth. This you must see as an extremely good thing. If you see this as an extremely bad thing and say only 10% of people are participating and therefore you feel dejected about it or depressed about it and you don't do it, that becomes the reason why the other 90% do not participate. When we started waste segregation in many of the communities in Banargada Road, including in LND Subsidy, the first time you started it, only a small subset of people participated. But we found that the next week, more people participated. You know why? Because they're on the bus to Abilene. Keep coming back to this idea. The bus to Abilene is a very powerful concept. If you do it, your neighbor will do it. Not for any other reason except for the fact that you are doing it. And therefore you must do it for that reason alone and make that the reason why your neighbor also does it. So starting with the imperfect, starting with the incomplete is actually a good thing. We must not resist this. We mustn't allow the ideal to become the enemy of the good. So first is solve the problem in your own space as much as possible. Second is even if it's incomplete or inadequate in some way, use that as a starting point and figure out how to drive it. The third thing is communication. The more noise you make about what you are doing, the more likely it's like the guy standing at the bus stop saying Madras, some joke will be standing outside the bus and selling tickets. Why does he make noise? Because noise brings passengers. Noise brings passengers. If you go outside your house and start saying waste management, 3 guys will sign up. That's life. That's life. You may not like it, but it works well. Fundamentally, therefore, you need to communicate the work that you do as much as doing the work itself. And more importantly, in the process of communicate, recognize and honor the people that are doing significant portions of that work. If you catch 3 people and say, these are really inspiring people in our community, we should be proud that such people are in our community. For that reason, 6 more people will join. So essentially, this method of catalyzing participation, it's important to learn what catalysts actually work and use those catalysts effectively, rather than worry that these are not the most ideal catalysts. Sometimes people do things because their neighbor is doing it, because they think, oh, if I do it, somebody will recognize me as a good person. Whatever their motivation, don't worry about the thing. As long as they participate, you just get them into the thing. And later on, they become champions. Some of the people who are like serious champions of water management or waste management, they would not even, they themselves will say, for the first 3 years, I never believed this was possible. I heard one guy say this. Some of you were at that water adda, apartment adda workshop on water where I spoke. I don't know if any of you were there. But in that community, there was a guy who spoke about apartment communities. How do you carry out water harvesting and reuse in an apartment community? Now, this is universally thought to be an impossible problem to crack. The basic belief is that you need land to capture water, and that apartment communities don't have enough land to people ratio to actually capture and reuse water. There was a guy who spoke almost for half an hour, 45 minutes about his experience in doing this on Mysore Road. He said, once you overcome the thought in your mind that it cannot be done, actually that's the reason it begins to be done. Once you start by saying, how can it be done? Rather than saying it cannot be done, you will find that it can in fact be done. And that today, one other thing is true. Ecology and conservation is economically advantageous to you. We are no longer in the era where people would say, well, solar just costs too much money, or doing the right thing just costs too much money. You are actually in the era, you are paying 75 rupees per kiloliter from a water tanker. right? I mean, not in every community, but many communities are paying 75 rupees per kiloliter from a water tanker. Recycling and reusing water costs less than 8 to 12 rupees per kiloliter. It's a no-brainer as an exercise. Bescom power can be substituted in 18 months. In 18 months you can get rid of Bescom. But most people are unwilling to move towards Bescom, getting rid of Bescom, because they believe, well, the upfront investment is not worth making, or you'll never recover the money. There's no good data. People are actually coming to assumptions and conclusions in the absence of data. So you really need good data. What portion of your bill is being consumed by your geyser? If you move that alone to solar, what portion of the money that you get to recover? So communities need to become knowledge repositories of answering questions at this granular level. Then more people will actually take up this exercise. And there are countless. Last year we had this thing called, it's called Recycle Hubba. I don't know if any of your communities participate. Recycle Hubba is a competition across the city between communities to say, look, we are doing all this conservation work, please give us an award for this. Literally it's an awards competition across the city for recycle and reuse. When we announced it, we thought some 40-50 people would apply. 400 communities applied. I was shocked to see how many communities are doing things that we don't even know about. And many communities didn't realize that the one next to them was doing stuff. Right? In last time when I spoke also, I said this thing, there are guys who live 2 streets apart who come to Jaimahal to meet each other. Right? This is true. If you walk down this street, you will find that there are 6 people who have solved various problems that you've been trying to solve, and all you really need to know is know those 6 people. And creating this information system to discover those 6 people is one of the most powerful things that we can do. If we keep discovering people who know the answers will multiply that much faster. And so, these are the things that really matter. Granularity of knowledge, commitment to doing it yourself even if nobody else is doing it, and sharing that knowledge across as many people to accelerate the outcome. This must become like a wheel that repeats itself again and again and again. You can solve any number of problems yourself if you do this. And the great thing today is it's ecologically and economically viable. In Germany, they are talking about moving 20% of the country to clean fuel. That is rooftop generated clean fuel in 8 years. Imagine that, 20% of the country, in one of the most industrialized countries in the world, they're saying in 8 years, 20% of the electricity in this country should be generated at rooftop. In South Korea, they're moving towards 100 Mbps connectivity in each house as a fundamental right. So essentially, we're falling behind, partly because we're not engaging the outcome orientation fast enough. And in communities that are self-empowered, this outcome orientation can easily be embraced. And that's the key. Once you show it can be done, lots of people will follow it. This is the beauty. In government in India, it's very difficult to start something. But once you start it, it's very difficult to stop it also. So it's that's what you really should take advantage of. The fact that it's difficult to change can be a good thing if you create the right thing. If you create the right thing, that also will be difficult to change. So, we must push for the system of administration to create the right thing. In BBMP, I don't know how many of you know this. There are 4 garbage contractors in BBMP. 3 of them are paid by BBMP. The 4th one pays BBMP. You understand? 3 of them are paid by BBMP for lifting trash. The 4th one pays BBMP for lifting trash. So the model itself is changing. So what you need is an acceleration of the change where people pay for lifting trash rather than are paid for lifting trash, because they begin to if the guy is paying you for lifting trash, you can be 100% sure he will extract every possible reuse value out of it, because he only makes money by reuse. Whereas if you pay the guy for dumping trash, he is interested in generating more trash. So your model itself determines whether you're prioritizing trash creation or trash reduction. And this is the key to understanding what can be changed. At some legislative level, you need support for this thing. At council level, you need policy support for this thing. And at the community level, you need to make choices that result in the right outcome. All of these are related. But I think what my experience has been is that repeatedly, if you iterate, you actually get to the outcome that you're looking for. This power of iteration, right? Most people believe that the small thing can never be improved enough to become the big thing. But that's by and large not true. Many small things can iteratively be improved to become large, powerful systems for good. And I think this is the potential that we are all looking at now. That if you share, yes?
You identify some the garbage who actually collect for paying or generating.
Yeah.
That's how we can
100%. There's a thing called Solid Waste Management Roundtable, which actually as a group works only on this one issue. I'd be happy
I brought these banners for you, Mr. Bala. You can give it to all representative places. This is what we are doing. And now, your area has been serviced by one number, radioactive, one community also part of Roundtable. I can give you the number. He's already doing it in HSR Layout. it will not be a problem. When you segregate and keep, they will take the dry waste out. See, olden days, in our school days and all, wet waste was being purchased because it was not polluted or it was not mixed waste. Once you segregate waste, it has got value. See, out of total 5,000 tons if you produce, about 2,000 tons is all dry waste. Why should we transport 30 kilometers to spoil some village or landfill or environment? Keep it yourself. That also we have won the case, so to have dry waste collection centers in each area. Your area is served by one of our member, radioactive and Jain Community Service. I will give the number, you call them, they will give awareness, collect the material also at a nominal price. Whatever price you get, you can pay to the housekeeping staff which you are throwing in the garbage. Actually, if you scientifically decide, about 3 to 5 rupees is thrown in the garbage by normal middle class. And rich people may throw even up to 25 rupees in the garbage. All that money will be utilized by the economically lower section. That is what each one should understand. The same thing about solar and other water, other things, there is a separate subject by itself. Garbage is one thing, without any spending, only your mindset you should change. Then automatically things will fall into shape. Change your mindset.
This OneBengaluru idea that we are discussing here today, and we could not do the introduction part because of lack of time. And I also know that many people are working on solving different problems at different level. We are all trying to build a network where we can be part of solving problems in our neighborhood, share this, make it available to more and more people. So one of the things that we can do is that in this OneBengaluru website that we have, if you share the information as a kind of introduction about each and every person, also the kind of activities that the person is involved in, his expertise and other things, that itself will become a mechanism for other people to know who is working on it. For example, if you share about khata, or somebody shares about lake or garbage, other people will know that if they want to do the similar thing in their locality, whom they should approach and how they can create it.
Yeah, on BCT we are creating a way for people to register and become a part of BCT, and whether if they allow their profile to be seen by others, then everyone can see what you are interested in. Like Ramakant sir will be very happy to share his number with all of you today. He's been working on garbage for God knows how many years and will continue doing that. And he's very happy to talk to you about that. So we will produce some profiles like that, and each of you individually can, this is what we call it ward watchman. There is some comment that should become ward watch person or ward watcher. There is some naming thing going on, but we are trying to build that also. In lack of time, we cannot talk a lot about BCT today. But with Bala's permission, we can send that out to everybody, whoever wants to become part of OneBengaluru Google group or the BCT website. Yeah. And there will be different levels of users. So some people like Hari can be, writing a blog about Kata issues. What's the latest happened in the RTI that he found? Samples of RTI. I think the template RTIs are very, very powerful. I've seen it happen in many other places. So we'll do this kind of stuff.
Yeah. And
call him.
Another thing,
you can call
another thing that we can also do is while different people are working on different areas and we are trying to involve more and more people in our locality to address the small issues, the power system not working or garbage being left somewhere. But we have to also see that slowly we have to also make it some kind of, provide some kind of institutional support or platform where these problems can be addressed at a bigger level, that scaling up becomes possible. Because one of the challenges is that this, if it is at a lower level, the possibility that the solution dies down is more, but if it becomes bigger, more people are involved.
Absolutely.
The fact that more people are involved in this itself creates the confidence and makes it sustainable.
That is the intention. We want to start bottom up and make enough noise in that the dog boils up there.
That is
Jay
I just want to add one thing. So, the story what we shared today is very inspiring for us. We are going to commit ourselves for solid waste management. The change is going to start from ourselves, and then we are going to ask PBMP for solving our garbage problem. So that is our first commitment.
Whenever I come, I will bring the BPMP staff along with me.
So,
including the environment engineer, health inspector, everybody.
Yeah. So first thing I would like to share on that to all, like Belandur community, they have called this Forward 150. It's a group for Federation of Residents Welfare Association, Ward 150. That is called Forward 150. That group in Springfield apartment and few other apartments, they have implemented solid waste management. They are recycling waste in the balcony. It is not smelling. It is not smelling. And kids are very interested to grow plants in that. and it is very highly nourishing.
Springfield project was completely guided by me. For last
Wonderful.
8 months I am with
I can
them.
see why it is
Every
successful.
2 minutes I am there.
So that's it. So we are going to do that, and going forward, the next step of how to take down the garbage, we will certainly get in touch with you. Thanks a lot. So one of the problem is finding some solution with this meeting today.
We are running out of time. We can hang around to talk for a few minutes after that, but let me ask Jay to formally close the meeting.